Good morning, Flosstube. It's Caroline in Leeds in West Yorkshire in the UK. It is Sunday the 16th of May 2021 and I'm back for my long overdue video 16. Sorry to disappear for so long. I've not recorded since January. It's been a variety of reasons for that. I've not really been in the best headspace for recording. I've also been pretty much just working on one piece, although it might not seem like that because there's been a few little bits done, and I didn't figure that actually made for the most exciting videos. And precious of time, we went back into the college, reopened at the beginning of March, so I've been pretty much back in work since then. Up till now I've had one day a week to work from home, but that's changing from next week. I'll work at home on Monday and then that'll be it. I'll be back in the office full time, which I've got mixed feelings about at the moment, especially as we're dropping all the mask wearing within college. Although, yeah, you spent your day walking around college going to the students, can you put your mask on please? Can you put your mask on please? So 6 of one, half a dozen of the other really. So anyway, so thank you for coming back, for those of you who've stuck with me. If you're a subscriber, thank you very much. If this is your first time checking me out, I hope you'll hang around and stay and hit that subscribe button. I can be found around the internet as at Caroline A. Kemp, and Caroline is spelt with a K, on Instagram and Twitter. I do use Facebook, but I try and not accept friend requests from people I don't actually know. Well, either online or offline these days, because Facebook tends to be where I share family stuff rather than Instagram or Twitter. And show notes for this episode will be found on my blog, which is at carolinescorner.blogspot.com. It's been so long since I've done this, I've got a dry throat already, so bear with me when I slurp some tea. Yeah, so what's been happening stitching wise? I've actually got some finishing done, would you believe? And I have finished one very, very old project that fully finished, a very, very old project that I actually finished the stitching of back in 2008. In 2002, Jennifer of Dragon Dreams Designs offered a free Afghan pattern on her blog, which I started at the time. It was called the Dragon Virtues Afghan. And I got the proper fabric and started the stitching. It's upside down. Right, tell them out of practice at this. There's a border of moons and the stars are a filler stitch. And then you have all the virtues as dragons. So we have peace, love, wisdom, generosity, compassion, strength, freedom, friendship, trust, tenderness, joy, and faith. I won't get all this in, I shall insert some pictures. I'll insert a picture about now. to do this. So as I said, I finished the stitching back in 2008 with just before my daughter was born, with a view to having it in her nursery. However, I never got round to stitching the backing on and finishing it. I got a cheap, a couple of years later I was in IKEA, they had a cheap fleece of the right colour way, so I thought great, get on and get that done. I dragged it out of the drawer of unfinished objects because the drawer was filling up, and this is the bulkiest at the beginning of the year, and thought, no, I'll get that done. So I did, and it's all sewn on and it's all fringed, and my daughter, I thought, oh great, I'll get to keep it for myself now. My now 13-year-old daughter took one look at it and went, "Dragons, mummy!" and whipped it off me. I will have, when I put the pictures in, I'll insert a picture of her in it now. So yeah, so that's disappeared into her bedroom, and which is nice because it's still getting used. But I'm very glad to finally have this one done and out of the drawer. Now just to finish everything else. Okay, I'll put that down there. After finishing such a big project, there was an afternoon a couple of weeks ago where I just had a little bit of time, so I just wanted something quick and easy to do. And I finished off Pinwheely by Colonial Designs. I'd started this as a mania start last year and finished it back in November. Finished the stitching. So I spent an afternoon just putting it together. It's got pineapple fabric on the back. And again, it just took a couple of hours to do, so that was nice to get that one knocked out. And again, out in my smalls display downstairs. So yeah, so that's Pinwheely. Now on to what I've been stitching mostly since you last saw it. So the piece I've been really working on without much break since beginning of March has been Heather Jardine from Hands Across the Sea Samplers. This is was a free gift from Nicola if you bought the Anne Morrison stitch along from Traditional Stitches. I did. I have Anne Morrison and I will hopefully get her started at some point. But I actually wanted Heather because I have a new niece in New Zealand and I wanted to stitch this as her birth sampler. She's 1 at the end of the month, so I wanted to get it finished. So last time you saw it, I think I was just working on these alphabets and I was about finished. Then at the beginning of March I started on these motifs and pretty much spent all of March, most of April finishing this off. Then I took a short break and then I put my niece's name and birth date instead of Heather Jardine. As you can see, as I'll when I talk you through, I'll talk about a couple of other changes I made. So here we are. I can't show you the whole sampler because I don't have permission to share my niece's name and birth date with anyone. So you'll have to just bear with me on that one. So here is the completed sampler that I can share. I'm very pleased to have it done. I'm really pleased with how it's looking. It's stitched on 40 count light mocha using some of the call for a Verosoir silk, and where I didn't have it already in my stash, I pulled the DMC and then matched it to another silk that I have. So it's a mix of MPI and a Verosoir, and this dark blue here is a Gloriana silk. So I pretty much stitched it as charted, apart from, say, changing the personalisation. So where here Heather had stitched the initials of her school, I put in my own initials, and I've changed the date from 1933 to 2021 when I stitched it. So that will be making its way over to New Zealand this week, and hopefully will arrive by the time my niece turns 1. And I'll speak to my sister about getting it framed, because I can't say I'm not sending a framed piece in the post. That's just asking for trouble. I thoroughly enjoyed stitching this one, and this is my first completed Hands Across the Sea. I have a large collection of them, so I need to get cracking and stitch some more. So very pleased with that. And that has been the bulk of my stitching time so far this year, has been heather. And I'm actually looking forward to stitching some other things. I got a bit, I'm not a one at a time stitcher, really not a one at a time stitcher. I do need to alternate between projects a bit. I'm more of a rotation stitcher, so I'm very glad to get that done. So when I had finished all the motifs before I got into stitching the personalisation, finishing the sampler off, I picked another whip, one of my older whips up, and got that finished. This is Hand in Heart Springbird. It's stitched on 28 count, I think it's 28 count, might be 32 count, summer khaki linen from Zweigart. It's the called for anyway, along with the called for gentle art threads. There's a Jabco button to go in here, which I'll put on when I do the actual finishing. I have all the seasonal birds, so I'm planning on finishing with little, there may be flat folds, or I may see if I can find a little easel I can just stick them on. Just going to be flat finishes, and I can swap them out for the seasons. It was quite a nice palette cleanser in the middle of after finishing all the motifs on heather. So that's 2 finishes now. That's 2 finishes for the year so far, which I'm quite pleased about. So 2 fully finished objects, 2 finishes. So we'll get on to, I'll just go through chronologically. So this will include some my first of the month new starts, and other stuff that as we get into May, I'll talk about what I've been working on for Mania. Although a good chunk of May was spent finishing off heather, because sorting out the personalisation, there was a bit of frogging because I'd not quite got it positioned right. Well, and work's been busy, so there have been quite a few nights I've not actually managed to stitch. I've been just sort of getting to the stage where I've just been collapsing into bed and doing a fair bit of reading. I'm not going to talk about books or quilting. I'm just going to keep this video knitting and cross stitch because it's been so long, but I'm sure I will catch up with you about what I've been reading. So in March, for my first of the month start, I got this one out. This is Sampler Cove Quaker Hussif, which I've had the chart since it came out, and I've had the called for 36 count navy bean linen in my stash for a long time as well, back from when I was in the Silk Weavers Fabric of the Month Club, which was probably pushing 20 years now. I also have the finishing kit, which I bought off a friend 6, 7 years ago. So it's about time I got on and got this started. So this was my little start on March the 1st of the Hussif. So this is on 36 count navy bean linen from Lakeside Linens, and I'm stitching it in the called for rosewood Gloriana silk. Okay, so just a little start on the top borders, but nice to have it off the into the started pile, and hopefully when I get there it won't take a huge amount to show some serious progress on it. So you say I've been looking forward to stitching this one for quite some time, so it's nice to get it started. So that was my 1st of March. So that was the only other thing I stitched in March other than Heather Jardine. Then in April, my 1st of the month new start was Clara Ellen by Blackbird Designs. Now this is going to be the only one of the anniversaries, it's the only one of the anniversaries of the Heart designs I own. This is going to be the only one I stitch. I want to stitch this one because my great grandmother's name was Clara Ellen. So and here is where I got to. Oops, stray bit of linen there. Just got to start on the border and the name. So this is being stitched on a random bit of Zweigart linen from my stash. Didn't have a label on with what the colour was. I think it's 32 count, but it might be 28. Just when I did a floss toss with the, I'm using the called for Crescent Colours, Classic Colourworks rather, and Gentle Art. Okay, doing it quite up to Nicole's standards, but never mind. So the nice soft colours, and when I did the floss toss, I felt they went really well. And I liked how they looked. So that's my small start on Clara Ellen. By Blackbird Designs. I actually owned, I'll have to show you it sometime, my great grandmother, Clara's mother, Mary Ellen Simpson. I have her sampler that she stitched when she was about 10. So my plan is to stitch Clara Ellen and put it on the wall with her mother's sampler. See, I got given that by my nana when I was 11 or 12. I'm not quite sure she realised what a slippery sampler slope she was sending me down when she gave me the sampler, but she did say I was the only one in the family who seemed at all interested in needlework, so she'd give it to me. So, and look where it's led. Oh, I think I'm a little out of sync because back in February I did some work on One Moment in Time by It's Finally Finished, Jackie Duplessis. This was a class kit that was offered online through the Shining Needle Society, who they were on Yahoo. I can't remember the platform they're on now. They offer classes. I've not actually done one of their classes for a bit. So I was working on more I'm still working on the bag, which kind of, I thought I'd get it, crack through it, but as you will see, it's actually a lot of back stitch with a soy superfine on cream linen, and that is incredibly hard on the eyes. So, but I am now, I finished off the back. I got 2 bag panels finished and one of the pockets, so I'm now 3/4 of the way through the bag. So these are what the back panel looked like. So there's only a little bit about the little bit at the top, but what you possibly can't see unless I can get the light right is all the and it's quite fine linen. I'm not sure of the exact count anymore, and it's very, very fine thread, and it's very difficult to see and count. So there's a lot of frogging going on as well on this. I do like stitching, however, the pockets are a lot more fun to stitch because they've got more of the flowers on. So I did 2 of those, 1 of those in February, and I am now at the 3/4 of the way done part with the bag, and then the stitching accessories I think will be a lot more fun to do. So This project is being stitched in with the Soy Superfine for the outlining, a couple of 103s in the brown and the green, and then the flowers are in hand-dyed silks. I'm not sure of the brand, I think they might be Gloriana, but I'm not sure. So beautiful pinks. So yeah, I was quite glad to see a bit of solid progress on that and to see the end of a bloody bag. Be worth it when it all gets put together though. It's been a bit of a slog stitching it. And then we're on to May, and it's Mania. I finished Heather, which has been the first. I finished Heather on the 13th. So I did a couple of new starts during that time, but I'm going to do my usual Mania of a new start every Monday. First of the main new start every Monday, and then I'm just going to work through my whips and just put a little bit of progress on as many as I can. I won't get through all of them. So my first of the May new start was this one from Just Nan called Black Magic. That's the bead pack. I am stitching it on a piece of random 28 count, I think Witchlet linen that I had in antique white. So I made a start on it. What I hadn't bargained when I picked it up, decided to start this one, was just how much over one there is in this piece. There's an awful lot. The whole of this middle section is over one, and the whole of the border is over one. So Nan herself suggests stitching the border in increments, just to in the instructions, just so you don't get totally overwhelmed out. So yeah, so that's possibly going to be more challenging than I thought. But so that was my progress on the first, just getting the middle line of the verse done. And a good friend sent me, at the time this came out, sent me the silk pack, which I've say this design is copyright 2004, so I've had it a long time. And the silks have been sitting there, so I thought it was time to get cracking. And it's a mix of it's all a Vera Soie. It's a mix of 103 and Sweet Alger. So I do like this luminous purple. I think Nicola was stitching something in this purple as well in one of her videos, Nicola Parkman from Hands Across the Sea, and I agree with her, it's an absolutely stunning colour. Very much the Just Nan pinks and purples palette, this design. So I'm looking forward to getting back to it. Then, as it was the first weekend in May, Brenda and Laura were doing their Blackbird Designs sale. I have some Blackbird whips, I thought I would join in. So I pulled Moonlight Garden, as that's my Moon Garden, as that's my oldest Blackbird whip, out to work on. So my plan with the Blackbird weekend sales is just to work on this one till it's done, and then I'll move on to Clara Ellen and get her done. Again, I've had this design pretty much since it came out because I loved it. It's one of the very, very early loose feathers. It's number 8 and it's long since out of print. I bought it on the trip to California when I got to visit Lois at Elegant Stitch. So it's my progress. So good chunk of stitching in that weekend. On that Sunday I got the flower finished, I got these leaves finished, and I made a start on this big one here. So very pleased with my progress, and it's nice to get this one out again. It's being stitched on 32 count Sienna Night from Lakeside Linen. Again, this is linen I have had in my stash since I was in the Silk Weaver Fabric of the Month Club, so probably pushing 20 years, so I don't know if they do it at all anymore. But and I'm using the called for Gentle Arts, although I think the colours have changed a little bit since Blackbird designed, but they pop really well on this fabric, so I'm kind of enjoying the contrast. So I'm looking forward. So I'll be picking that one up again beginning of June for the next instalment of the sale. And obviously I'm wishing Brenda all in my thoughts and hoping everything goes well with what's up with her. Let's put that down there. So in the first weekend in, so the next weekend in May, I started my next new start for Mania. Again, it's another chart that I've had for an awfully long time. It's by Old Colonial Designs. It's called A Needleworker's Garden and Needlebook. Again, I bought it when it came out. I have the box, which is sat on the shelf, and I keep looking at it and going, I really need to get that done. So I decided to start it. This is using the recommended linen and overdyed cotton threads. So this was my little start from the evening I spent stitching on it. So made a little bit of a start on the basket flowers there. I have another couple of pieces in this range that I have actually done, the little accessories. There was a thread keep and there was a basket. So they've been done, and I just need to get the big basket done. I didn't get any of the other pieces in the series. So looking forward to getting back to that. So as I said, it's using the recommended overdyed threads. So there's a couple of weeks and some Gentle Arts. So after I finished Heather on Thursday night, I finished Heather. Friday night I pulled out a whip. So the whip I pulled out was the Silk Gauze project that I started for March 2019, called Cherry Tree Globe. It was a little kit from Colonial. So it came with the silk moire, some blending filament. I don't have a chart I can show you, but this is my progress on the globe. I was quite happy with how much I got done. When I picked it up, I was part way through stitching all the snowflakes around the tree, so I got those finished. I stitched the outline of the globe, and now I am just filling it in. And then there's a base to stitch underneath it, which hopefully won't take too long when I get back to this whip on a permanent basis. I should be able to finish it. Stitch 10 stitch over one. It's 40 count silk gauze, and I said it's silk moire from Colonial, and there's a couple of little blending filaments in there as well. So those are the silk colours. They're pretty to work with. So I'm very happy with my progress on that. So that was Friday. On Saturday, last night, I had my next new start for Mania. I don't have a good picture of this one. It's one of the breast cancer charity kits that Lois would do with for This is 2008 that Lois used to do. I think she may still do, I don't know. I haven't looked for a while. So this is by Jackie Duplessis, it's finally finished, and it's called Pretty in Pink, which is a little sewing case with an initial on, and this is a fob. So I made a start on the outside of the pouch. Quite happy with how much I got done last night. The outside is all back stitched in Flosh, and then it's an over dyed silk for all these eyelets. So it's going to take a bit of doing to get the outline done. These are the threads, so you've got the green Flosh and the over dyed, and there is the ribbon is the same that's used to close it, is the same over dyed thread, over dyed colour. It's silk ribbon over dyed. So yeah, so glad to get that one started as well. It's been sat there for far too long. Right, having got to the end of all that lot, I'm going to pause the video. Apologies if you can hear the rain, because the rain's just come down, and then I shall get the stash together, because there's been a bit of stash, and my knitting, and I will come back. So I will see you again shortly. Right, I'm back and all organised, and so we shall go through stash, because of course there has been a fair bit of stash. Since I last recorded. I got a question after my last video where I showed the Winds of Autumn book by Blackbird Designs. I think it was from Mrs. Stitcher, who asked what were my favourite designs in the book. It's very difficult to pick out a favourite. I like them all. I particularly like Patchwork Pumpkin. And I think one of my favourite designs, which might be the first one stitched, is this Sisters sampler, which is a reproduction sampler that's in the book. So that might be one of the first ones, but as I say, I like them all. It's very difficult with Blackbird to pick out an absolute favourite. I'm going to come and say hello. Oh, I've got a visitor. Oh, come on. Yes, you say hello to Flosstube. This is Florence. She's not been in any of the videos since the beginning. This is my cat. You'll see the rain has woken you up, hasn't it? You've come to try and find your next snoozing spot of the day, and I'm sat in it, aren't I? You're not hers. So while we're on the subject of Blackbird Designs, I did get another Blackbird chart, We Live in Hope, which is two lovely sailing themed designs. Yeah, you're going to sit on everything I've got ready to show everyone, aren't you? What can you do? Cats. So everything I've bought's come from a mix of places. It's usually either Patchwork Rabbit, Needlework, Peakside Needleworks, or Fobbles. They're the three shops I mostly use, and I use Lakeside Needleworks for threads mostly. Given it fell on the floor, I'm not using the Needlework Press Book a Days to record my stitching this year. I was toying with getting one, then I remembered I've actually got these memory books that I got given by Needleprint at the Ackworth retreats. I was fortunate enough to go to both Ackworth retreats. And they actually have a space in there. As you can see, this one's a bit full because it's got lots of memorabilia from, it's got little pockets so you can put lots of memorabilia from stuff I've been sent over the years, and lots of memorabilia from the retreat. Space for people to sign. So some cards, there were blank pages, somewhere to record your stash, acquisitions. And then there were some project record pages. I'm just recording every project as I work on them and the dates I work on them, and then making notes to say when they were finished. So not as pretty as everybody's book of days with the stickers, but as I have these, I wanted to, found them when I was having a clear out and thought, do you know what, I should use them. Quite nice. I got some blank pages and a Quaker medallion at the back, I say. And these plastic wallets for storing stuff in. I've got two of those, one from each retreat. So this is the one from the first retreat, so I'm cracking on with filling that up. So yeah, so that was my Blackbird stash. There's I got a couple of Scarlet House charts, pumpkins and bittersweet. I've seen people stitching it on Instagram and was reminded how much I liked that one. And Martha Pudsey, because which is one I've loved for a while and just never quite got round to getting, so up to now. I can't remember what prompted me to finally buy the Mary Gibson sampler from the Hazelmere Museum, but I think I must have seen it in someone's video or on Instagram, but I did, because this has been out for ages. They have another one as well, which is really nice, which I need to get. So yeah, so Mary Gibson's 1824 sampler. I got Autumn Hill from Plum Street Samplers. Quite a pile of With Thy Needle. Oh. I got a Stitch in Time, which is this beautiful pinwheel and needle book. Gone Batty, which has been on my list since I saw Carol working on it, Saltbox Stitcher last year. Wool and Flax, which again is one that's been on there for a while, and I Collect. And having seen Lisa Smith Kindred Stitch's lovely finish, I had to get Hannah Ann Wallace. Sorry, there's a cat parked a fluffy butt right on everything I was wanting to show you. And last but not least, there is of course some Hands Across the Sea. I got myself Elizabeth Furness, which has been on my wish list for a long time. Jane Hearth, Little Gem, which I finally got round to download, buying and printing. And of course the current Queen of the May, Matilda Swallow. Don't have all the Queens of the May because I knew I'd not stitched Lucy Neatsby, one from a couple of years ago. So I thought I'd leave this, but I do like this one. One day, probably when I retire. Right, so that's all my stitching stuff. So we shall move on to knitting, and in knitting I actually have a couple of finished objects. I have finished my Sprite Sven shawl that I've been knitting for most of the year. There we go. Nicole has also finished hers. It's a lovely one to knit, but boy do those rows at the end get long. It's a half pie shawl, so We're on to almost 600 stitches by the end of the shawl. So it was knit in lace weight from Natural Born Dyers. Lustrous lace. It's a 55% blue-faced Leicester and 45% silk, and the colourway is Blue Bottle, and it has a beautiful shimmer, and it's just shades of greens and purples and blues, so very much my colourway. Very pleased to have got that done, blocked in a timely fashion, and hopefully get plenty of wear out of it this summer if the weather ever picks up. It's still a bit cold for the middle of May here. The next one was actually counts as stash because I've bought it since my last video. A start and a finish. I worked on some fingerless gloves the pattern is by Stitchy Dragon, who I follow on Instagram, and she released these gloves about January, February time, and a dyer called Sweet Pea Yarns was offering a kit to stitch these. So it's all in 4-ply hand-dyed yarn from, it's all British wool, but it didn't have this particular breed. So it's the palms, got the trees down the bottom, and a bit of chance to work on my colour work again. Very pleased to have these done. I haven't quite had to resort to wearing them yet, but it's come close a couple of days. It's been a bit chilly, especially because we have to have all the windows open in the office. Sorry if you can hear that, that's my printer's chuntering away to itself for some reason. Yeah, so I really enjoyed knitting those. They knit up quite quickly, and I'm sure I'll get plenty of wear out of them as we go through the year. And I'm loving the colour, especially the sort of variation in the blue. It's beautiful. So on to what I am knitting now. I'd started socks last time I spoke to you. Excuse me, cat. Again, everything was under the cat. I'd started the Cliffhawk socks, but I don't think I'd got very far. As things are opening up here now, I'm back to having to wait around for swimming lessons, and I'm not allowed in the pool anymore. I have to wait in the car, so I'm back to actually having some time to work on my socks. So this is my progress to date on my Cliffhawk socks. Show this lovely lace pattern. They are by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade, and are from the Sock Society 2, I believe. 2 or 3, can't remember, might be 3, I'll have to check. I'm knitting them in some Knitting Goddess 4-ply British woolen nylon that was club yarn from 2016. She did a Back to the Discworld club, and this colourway is God of Evolution. So these all just get worked on as and when. Probably about halfway down the leg of the first sock now. I'm quite pleased with how the colour's working with the pattern. That's the cake. So yeah, back to running around after the kids. Really haven't missed that bit. Right, and the next thing is also some new stash that I bought, and also by the Knitting Goddess. She released a kit for what she calls the Superhero Simple Striped Cowls, which is a simple cowl knit in the round, either moss stitch or stocking stitch. I'm doing the stocking stitch version, and this is my progress so far. So the kit came with a skein of 4-ply BFL in the colourway Superhero Jeans, blue, and then a rainbow pack of the Moonbrook kid mohair, which is 72% mohair and 28% silk. So you can see I'm onto my third colour. I've got the red done, I've got the orange done, and I'm onto the yellow. Then we've got green, blue, turquoise, purple, pink. Maybe the green, turquoise, blue, purple, I think is the way it goes. So that will be the rest of my rainbow. These kits were to raise money for charity. The Superhero Jeans colourway was created in memory of a brother of a friend of mine who had a rare genetic condition, and the sale of these raises money for one of the organisation that supported him. So yeah, loving how this is coming out. It's a nice mindless knit, which is kind of what I need at the moment. I'm knitting up quite quickly. This is just a couple of weeks worth of knitting time. So happy to get back to that. Right, excuse me. Can I have the rest? Thank you. Sorry about that. She knocked everything off the sofa to make sure she had room. In the meantime, I knit the gloves while I was working out what my next sweater project was going to be, because having finished the Incuba cardigan, I'd got some yarn in my stash. I'd got a sweater quantity of West Yorkshire Spinners fleece 100% Wensleydale in my stash in this lovely purple. And I've been trying to find a pattern that I could do with it. What I've decided is to do Love Notes by Tin Can Knits. The original chart is for mohair and a 4-ply held together, but it struck me that because this is quite a thin double knitting, is the Wensleydale from West Yorkshire Spinners, that would work just as well. So I've got as far as doing a gauge swatch, and I think the fabric that it's producing will work quite well with the Love Notes. So I'm hoping to start casting that on next week, having worked out what needle sizes I need to get the Get Right gauge. Obviously not the ones in the pattern, because I'm using a radically different yarn. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that should look quite good in this purple. So that's going to be my next knitting start next week probably. I'll put the cowl down and cast on the sweater. So that's everything I've got for you today. Because, as I said, this is quite a long one because I've not recorded for a while. So there's been some progress on my quilt. I just need to find the time to finish sewing it together. I've got all 3 big panels sewn together. I just need to sew them together and put the borders on. But I've taken up open water swimming, so I tend to go swimming with a friend at the time I was doing the quilting. So I need to work out how I'm going to find some time for that. And obviously there's been some some quite a lot of reading. Just had some thunder, so the cat has now disappeared. Anyway, I shall finish here so I can hopefully get on to editing this video this week, and hopefully it won't take me weeks to upload it. So I hope everyone's well, and look after yourselves, and hopefully I will see you again soon. Goodbye.